So just the other night, I was walking down the hallway to my bedroom, and as I traveled down the hallway, I got hit with a wall of putrid stench that could literally make a billy goat faint. Now, if any of you have got teenagers in your house, then you know exactly the powerful stench that I'm talking about. Now, don't get me wrong, I love and adore my children, but man, can they get stinky. And so, as any good dad would do, I decided to trace down the source of the foul aroma. And I quickly discovered that the smell was coming from the tennis shoes of one of my kids. And so after emptying an entire bottle of Febreze and tossing every pair of my kids' dirty, nasty shoes out into the yard to air out for a bit, it really kind of got me thinking about how God deals with our collective stench. And so on this week's episode of the 5-Minute Break, we're going to take a moment to learn from Jesus how we need to deal with each other's dirty, nasty feet. Let's go. Hello, my friend, and welcome to the 5-Minute Break, here to bring you some encouragement and maybe a little bit of air freshener from God's Word. As always, my name is Dave, and I am your host, and I am also the lead pastor at First Christian Church in Arcadia, Florida. You know, I am sure that we have all had times where we get home from a long day at work or at the gym, we pull off our shoes, and we are greeted with the pungent fragrance of dirty feet. You know, foot care was so important in Bible times that families would actually hire servants, and it was their sole responsibility to make sure to wash and clean the feet of any family and guests that came into the home. This was a job that was reserved for the absolute lowest of servants. In John chapter 13, we see that Jesus and his disciples are getting ready to celebrate the Jewish holiday of Passover. This is one of the most sacred times of the year in the Jewish tradition. And so Jesus and his disciples, they enter into the upper room that night, and suddenly everyone just starts reclining at the table and eating. No one is even bothered to take on the responsibility of washing the feet of the other guests. According to Luke's Gospel, we see that the reason for this is most likely that the disciples are arguing with each other again who was the greatest among them. You know, this was a common argument that Jesus' followers got into, and it's an argument that kind of still happens from time to time. But in this moment, Jesus does something that just broke all of the cultural norms. Jesus, the rabbi, Jesus, the teacher, Jesus, the Son of the living God, kneels down and washes the feet of his followers. In John chapter 13, verses 3 through 5, we read that Jesus knew that the Father had put all things under his power, and that he had come from God and was returning to God. So he got up from the meal, he took off his outer clothing, and wrapped a towel around his waist. After that, he poured water into a basin and began to wash his disciples' feet, drying them with the towel that was wrapped around him. So by the time Jesus gets to Peter, Peter actually tries to argue the point with Jesus. Peter said, "Jesus, this isn't right. You shouldn't be washing my feet." You know, but I'm reminded of the words that Jesus himself says in Mark 10:45, "For the Son of Man did not come to be served, but to serve, and to give his life as a ransom for many." So when Jesus finished washing his disciples' feet, he tells them in John 13, verses 12 through 15, "Do you understand what I have done for you?" He asked them. "You call me teacher and Lord, and rightly so, for that is what I am. Now that I, your Lord and teacher, have washed your feet, you also should wash one another's feet. I have set you an example that you should do as I have done for you. You know, maybe what our world needs is more people who are willing to wash feet and less people who want to argue about their own greatness. As believers, we need to love one another, and we need to love our community by following Jesus' example and having a willing heart to serve even when it doesn't bring fame or recognition. We must be willing to do the lowliest servant work so that others could see Jesus a little more clearly. I want to thank you all so much for taking another 5-minute break with me today. If you enjoy these videos, please be sure to like, hit that subscribe button, as well as that notification bell so that you can get updates when new videos are released. And if you would, please drop a comment below and suggest maybe a future topic for us to discuss here on the show. Well, I guess it's time for me to go. I gotta go decontaminate some more shoes, so I hope that you'll be willing to join us again next time. Oh.